random thing, there's some kind of bitter piece of science to life to it. You have to know
Right,
what's wrong in order to treat what it is.
right, right. I think also, it's same thing. It's gonna be your choice at the end of the day, right? You're gonna, because I feel like regardless, there's always a consequence to our actions, right?
Hmm.
So if I say I ain't going to the doctor until I'm like on my deathbed, then hey, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
That's where you'll be once you get there.
don't be blaming God when you're on your deathbed, though. Don't be saying, "Oh my God, God, what happened? Why me?" You
Right.
just I think you got to look at your lifestyle, and I think your lifestyle is the biggest thing. The biggest thing is what are you doing? What are you intake? And I always talk about what's the sustenance that you're taking, not just as food,
That's taking,
your
right.
sustenance, what you listen to, what you're reading,
But
what you're
that's it.
watching.
When once people are kind of faced with that death, I think that's when they start that God, why me thing, right? It's like, why did you do this to me? Why me? Why my kid? Why my? And sometimes things just happen. Like sometimes things happen to babies, right? And they're babies. We
Right,
don't even know that they were sick, or until it's too late, or you're like, why this kid? So there's a fine line when it comes to kids. But us as adults, when certain things happen, and we're like, why me? Why did this happen? And that's when you kind of get frustrated, you get angry, or you get in that victim mode of the why me.
right, right.
I just think we need to start looking at ourselves a little more for the choices that we've made.
I think it's hard because when I was 14 when I actually got pregnant. I was 15 when I had my daughter that I lost. When I was 14, I for the first couple months I hid my pregnancy. I didn't
Hmm.
get care. So that's where my guilt came in because I didn't get care. I didn't get care till I probably was 5 months. And so Sarah Berry is a scammer. We're gonna block her right now. So I didn't get care until I was probably about 5 months. My first doctor's appointment was they did the sonogram like right then and there, and my daughter was already sucking her thumb. That's how far along I was. And I cried. I cried in there. And they took my blood work. When my blood work came back, they found out that I was RH negative. So I
Oh,
could have
yeah.
actually I could have actually already had a miscarriage because they were like, you got to come in, you got to get the shot, and it scared the shit out of me. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I didn't know nothing about blood types and that your blood type alone could fucking murder your child. Having RH negative blood and having a baby with positive blood, your body can attack it as if it was a germ or if it was a virus, right? And so that freaked me the fuck out. Like, oh shit, and then shit kind of got real. It was just like, so when I had her, unfortunately, when you're, especially your delivery, the blood does cross. And so my blood mixed with hers and she ended up getting jaundice. At the time I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what jaundice meant. I didn't fucking get it. I couldn't breastfeed because my breast milk, because your DNA is in it. So my breast milk made her jaundice worse. So even though I got sent home after the third day, she had to stay in the hospital. So I had to keep going to the hospital for the first week of her life and sit there wondering, did I do something wrong? Even though it wasn't really that I did something wrong, but I didn't understand it. I couldn't wrap my mind around
Hmm.
the terms they were telling me. And she had to be under the UV light. She had this
That
little
was
patch over her eyes and be under the UV light. And so, when she did pass I was, of course, first we had to wait for the autopsy. So I had to spend all that time really wondering, had I turned in my sleep, had I did something wrong. I kept blaming myself. Then I had the guilt of, damn, should I have went to the hospital? Should I have went to the doctor earlier? Should I have got care? You know what I mean? Just all of these things. And I stuck with that guilt for 20 something years of blaming myself of all the things that maybe I should have did or maybe I shouldn't have did, or all the shoulda, coulda, fucking wouldas after that. So I think a lot of times we do need to be conscious of medical care in that way. And I do feel, and of course I was a fucking kid, so I was hiding my pregnancy. I wasn't like an adult,
Mhm.
pregnant. It was very different. So of course, when I got pregnant with my second daughter, I went immediately. I was like 2 months pregnant when I found out. Immediately went and got the shot, everything I was supposed to do. So her birth was a lot different, than the first. But it's those things that make me think like, damn, like there's a lot of shit we don't know. There's a lot of shit we don't understand. So I love holistic healing. I love herbs. I love a lot of things. But there are some other shit that goes on that we have to be careful of too, right? And if we don't, then we kind of have to just deal with whatever comes next
Hmm.
in that and with our choices. And we kind of have to accept those choices. And sometimes it's not the best outcome. Sometimes it's not the best, not that it's our fault per se, but who's to say that my late care isn't a factor in that? Don't know. They never told me that, but it's kind of one of those things that I'll probably always hold on to. Even though I try to work through that, that's still one of the things that's lingering my situation anyway. Right. Yeah, it's a very rare. It's crazy because I could save a bunch of lives with RH, which with my blood, but not many can save my life. So
Right.
I'm pretty fucked if I go down. And there's nobody that it's crazy. I used to be someone who would donate blood because once they told me that I was able that my blood can save, like, you know what I mean? I was like, oh hell yeah. But then, unfortunately in 2017, when I had all that shit going on and I was bleeding crazy, like I literally my hemoglobin dropped. Like I was sick. Like I was like damn near about to pass out. I was pale. I was doing bad. I was losing too much blood. My body wasn't making the blood like it was supposed to. Like just a crazy time for my body. It was going through some crazy shit. I can't explain it. But whatever it did, it's like it regulated itself, healed itself, and then boom, I was like, good. The body is amazing, but you're not guaranteed for your body to do that all the time either. I believe it, not just because, advanced DNA sounds good.
Hmm.
I've read a lot on the Rh negative. There's a lot of theories behind Rh negative blood, and we're connected to aliens and all types of shit, right?
Better
It's
you
just like
than me. Shit.
maybe I am an alien. Talking about this, right?
Hmm. I know I've had too many blood transfusions. I can't do shit. They can give me blood, but they won't take it back.
Yeah.
Makes me question what the fuck they did. But I'm just saying, how y'all
Like
give
you
me
can
stuff but don't want to take it back?
just we don't know the long-term effects of what that is. That's basically what they don't want to say, right?
Basically. Oh well. Oh.
Oh, exactly, Stephanie. Look at that. You're RH2, Christina. Yeah, it's kind of common. It's I guess it's not as widely, of course, of the other blood types, but it's actually pretty good. And when I had my second daughter, even though when I had her, my blood did transfer with hers as well, and she only got a slight bit of jaundice. It wasn't like my first. My first daughter, she was like 6 pounds. My second daughter, she was 8. She was over 8 pounds. She was huge.
Mm.
So she was more developed and more healthy, to where she could deal with the transference, and it didn't really affect her. I breastfed her. Like the second I had her, they handed her to me and she was on a boob. I was like, oh, she's gonna eat, and she loves food. Like not like a bad thing, but she's a chef. She loves the taste of food. She can tell you spices and shit. I'm like, I don't know what that is. Hey Jennifer.
I know I had jaundice really bad when I was little,
Oh,
and I think
right.
two of my kids did.
I'm an organ donor too. And, let's talk about that real quick because a
Mm.
lot of people have a problem with being an organ donor when they go. And some people are like, "Ugh," and like really, even family, because, you get very possessive about the body. It's like, oh, how could, they cut them up like that? You know what I mean? Unfortunately, I had the experience of seeing my daughter after the autopsy, which I will advise anybody, if your child passes, please do not go and see them after that. They have especially a baby. Don't traumatize yourself like that. I know you guys, and God forbid if it happens, let's say that, right? But if it ever does, please don't. I was so adamant about seeing my daughter, and I should not have ever seen it because that's something you never can take back.
Mhm.
Never can take that sight back from a baby getting an autopsy and them, cutting them open. But you do know this is a shell, you guys. This is a shell, right? what are my organs gonna do in a casket or cremated? You know what I mean? If my heart is good when I die and it could save somebody, why not? If my liver is good and it could save somebody's life when I'm dead, I don't need it. I'm dead. Why not? If my lungs can save somebody, why not? I
Mm-mm.
am an organ donor. I'm put down as a donor. If I die and all my shit is good and they can save it, give it to somebody who needs it. You
I used
know?
to be an organ donor. I took my shit back. Nope,
Why?
not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Too much fucking weird shit. Organs are just worth too much. But when my son died, they called me and asked me, like I was in the driveway. I hadn't even made it like in my house. Absolutely, positively not.
Because they
No.
have to get it while the organs are still viable.
Hmm.
I know it
And
sounds shitty because
one thing I struggle with when it comes to death is pain, right? So I don't fear death itself. I fear what happens. Like I have this weird ass phobia of like trying to understand how the brain shuts down after the heart quits.
right.
And so, and then too, like when you're that organ donor and they can save your organs, they do try to keep you alive in order to take those organs. At least, not alive in the sense where you're going to be alive, but
Body,
they got to keep
body.
you like going, right, in order to get these organs. I would hate to be in that damn body. Like, just let me go. Just let me go. I don't want to be in the body while you're like I'm gonna be dead.
Right.
Like, ain't nobody ever been able to say, well, they took my freaking kidneys, but I felt it, even though I was dead. Or it's too
I don't
creepy
think
to
I've
me.
had one ghost ever say that though.
Right? It's just too creepy to me. I'm not gonna do it. No,
I haven't heard. Let me tell you, if there's a
I would
medium out
not
there that
do.
has a story of someone
My
who's passed
children
that was
will
a
not
it
do.
was like they were like, man, why the fuck did you guys let them do that to me? I would love to hear that story.
Mm-mm.
I
And I'm
just
not.
I you know
For me, it's different too. Like I would never let my kids do it. I just can't
I,
fathom my kids being cut up for their pieces like that.
I don't honestly I don't I was so out of it with my first daughter. Honestly, I don't remember. I cannot tell you if I said yes or no because I was so out of it when that happened. I can't really remember a lot of it. I kind of lost my mind for a little bit.
Well, I flipped my shit on the lady who called. I don't care if the soul is already gone. I don't. But you know what?
Yeah.
Too, that goes where you go back to religion, because some people don't believe that. Some
Right.
people don't believe your soul is already gone. Some people feel like you, in religious wise, that you have to be buried with what you are, and you have to be buried within a certain amount of days, and you have to be buried at a certain time. So to each its own, right? Some people may think the soul is already gone when you die, and some people don't believe that it happens until you have a ceremony, or until this happens, or until this person comes and blesses you, or whatever the case is. So to each its own. I just can't do it, and not for my kids. I can't do it. Nope, I'm not
I
going.
I think I think to each his own. You know what I mean? To each his own. Me, of course, it is very hard, but at the end of the day, I do feel like if my organs can save a life, so be it. You know what I mean? Because what am I going to do with it afterwards? You know? And chances are, most of the time when something happens to us, you may or may not have an autopsy anyway. They're going to have to cut you up anyway, most of the time,
Hmm.
right? To see the cause of death. And so it's kind of like if it's viable and you're able to, I'm all for it. I've been a donor since I got a license. I've been a donor ever since, just because I don't know. The way that my first daughter passed on, I don't know, it just kind of hit me in a certain way where